Good morning, everyone. We will be starting with MOOC Module 1, Lecture 1 today. Introduction to Operating System. So what is an operating system? A program that acts as an intermediary between a user of a computer and the computer hardware. And what are the operating system goals? To execute the user program and make solving user problems easier, make the computer system convenient to use the computer hardware in an efficient manner. So we can see here in this diagram that in the bottommost layer, we have got the computer hardware above which the operating system sits. And above that, we have got the system and application programs through which the user interacts with our computer system. So operating system acts as a resource allocator also, because it manages and allocates the resources to different processes and the user. It also controls different user programs and the various input-output devices. Now let us start with evolution of operating system. So in the initial days, we have got the batch operating system, and here the user which prepares the program using the punch cards cannot interact with the computer directly. He had to submit his program along with that punch card, which he had punched in the punched card, to the operator. Operator collects several such jobs from the users, and then as per the similar requirements, it groups those jobs or groups those punch cards into one set of group, which we called a batch, and that is why the name batch operating system. So that batch will be put it in front of the computer, and then computer will start executing one job after another job. So here there was no multitasking kind of thing. So single job or single punched card is fed to the computer. It will first of all execute some instructions, will be CPU related, which CPU will execute. After that, when the input-output related statement comes, then the CPU will remain idle and the input-output devices will work. After that, again the CPU instructions come, then CPU will again operate, and so on. So this is how one job will be completed. After that, the computer will take another punch card, that is the second job, and so on. So the user who submits the program to the operator submit it in the morning, and then he gets the output in the evening. So it was basically non-interactive system and very less efficient system, but this was the initial batch operating system. This is how it operated. So the problem with a batch system was it was a non-interactive system, and CPU is very often very idle, often remains idle, and hence the efficiency of the overall system remains low. So then came the concept of spooling, that is simultaneous peripheral operation online, which overlaps the input-output of one job with computation of another. That is, what happens? Suppose the current program is executing doing some computation, so CPU will be involved in it. And as soon as the computation part of the current job completes, then the CPU will switch to another job which requires computation. So CPU will start operating on that job, and the current process which requires now the input-output operations, so it will fed to the input-output devices. So simultaneously input-output and CPU will be working here. So a little bit efficiency has increased with the help of this concept, spooling. Then came the concept of multiprogramming. It is a logical concept and not an operating system. So to further increase the efficiency of the system, multiprogramming concept was used, in which multiple programs were stored in the main memory, and the CPU switched between different programs as the current program requires input-output. So in multi-program batch system, we can see that multiple jobs are there present in our RAM, and the CPU will be multiplexed among these different jobs as and when required. Next came the time sharing operating system. So time sharing is a technique which enables many people located at various terminals to use a particular computer system at the same time. So time sharing or multitasking is a logical extension of multi-programming. Processor's time, which is shared among multiple users simultaneously, is termed as time sharing. So what happens here? is that CPU gives small time slices to different users. This kind of time sharing operating system is normally utilized when there are multiple users and multiple processes are there. So the CPU switches, gives small time slice to every user or every task and switches to different users. And again, when it finishes all the users, then it again comes back to the first user and so on. So, but this switching occurs so frequently, so fast that every user will feel like that the processor is with himself or herself all the time. So let us do some calculations, which will give you a feel of how fast the CPU can operate and how why the user feels that the CPU is always with himself or herself. Suppose we have got the 2.1 gigahertz processor. It means 2 into 10 to the power 9 machine cycles can be generated by this CPU per second. Normally, 10 to 30 machine cycles are required for executing any high-level command. So, assuming that even 100 machine cycles are required to execute one high-level command, so dividing this 2 into 10 to the power 9 divided by 100 will give us 2 crore. And this 2 crore high-level instructions can be executed with the help of this 2.1 gigahertz processor in 1 second. This is what we mean by that. Okay. And how do we get this figure? Simply divide this 2.2 into 10 to the power 9 divided by 100, because we are assuming that 100 machine cycles are required for executing one high-level command. So it gives us 2 crore. It means in 1 second, the CPU can execute 2 crore high-level instructions or commands. Now, suppose we are using the time slice, time sharing system, and we are giving 1 millisecond to every user, and total we have got 100 users. So it simply means that for 1 millisecond will be given to the first user. After that, the CPU switches to the second user. Again, the second user will be getting 1 millisecond, and so on till all the 100 users get that 1 millisecond. Then the CPU will be returning back again to the first user. So it simply means that if 1 millisecond is given to one user and 100 users are there, it simply means that after giving time to all the 100 users, the CPU will return back to the first user within 1/10th of a second, right? Yes or no? Simply divide 100 because a total 100 milliseconds are required and we have got 1 second. So simply we are dividing 100 divided by 1000, we are getting 1/10. So 1/10th of a second in the CPU will be again with me. So obviously, if every 1/10th of a second, the CPU is with me again, though, so I will always feel like that the CPU is always with me. Now, let us see, since the CPU is giving 1 millisecond to every user, it means in 1 millisecond, if the CPU gives me time of 1 millisecond, then how many instructions it can execute in that 1 millisecond? So let us calculate. So here we have already calculated the 2 crore high-level instructions or high-level commands can be executed by the CPU of 2.1 gigahertz in 1 second. So in 1 millisecond, how much? Simply divide this by 1000. So this 2 crore divided by 1000 gives us 20,000. So 20,000 high-level instructions or high-level commands can be executed within 1 millisecond. So the CPU will be with me every 1/10th of a second. It will give me 1 millisecond of time. And in that 1 millisecond, the CPU is capable of executing 20,000 high-level commands or high-level instructions. So that is more than sufficient for any user to operate his program. And the user will always feel like that the CPU is with him or her all the time, right? So this is how the multitasking is performed using the time sharing operating system. So advantages of time sharing operating systems are it is an interactive system. So user can interact while the program is getting executed. It provides the advantage of quick response. It avoids duplication of software because since we are adopting the time sharing system, so obviously all the software etc. will be can be placed at one place, and I can simply use the software at that server side. So it avoids the duplication of the software. It reduces the CPU idle time because the CPU is continuously switching between different users and it is giving them time. So wherever the CPU execution is required, there the CPU will be utilized. So it is overall reducing the CPU idle time also. So these are the advantages of time sharing operating system. Next kind of operating system which came into existence was parallel systems. These are the multiprocessor systems with more than one CPU in close communication, also called tightly coupled systems. So in this, processors share memory and a clock, and communication usually takes place through the shared memory. So what is the advantage of this kind of system? It is increasing our throughput, because if suppose we have got quad processor, it means 4 processors are attached to my single system. So obviously, as compared to single processor, now my processing is being done by the 4 processors. So the throughput or the number of processes which are completed per unit time will be increased. So throughput will be increased, and hence my system efficiency will increase. It is more economical because this is a tightly coupled system where the processors are only duplicated, but the memory, clock, other hardware, etc., all are common, right? So since all are common and only the processors increase, so it is more economical. Throughput is increased, but still we have got the economical kind of concept here also. Now it is also increasing the reliability, because if a single processor fails, then also we are left with 3 more processors in case of quad processor. So our work will not stop. So it will increase overall reliability of our system. In other words, there will be a graceful degradation. Obviously, if 4 processors are working, the speed or the throughput will be high. But if one processor crashes, then also, since the 3 processors are running, so the throughput will become a little bit less, but it will be a graceful degradation. It will not be a total crash down of the system, right? The throughput will be decreased, but our work will continue to execute. Then came the real-time systems. So basically, there are 2 types of real-time systems: hard real-time systems and soft real-time systems. They are often used as a control device in a dedicated application, such as controlling scientific experiments, medical imaging systems, industrial control systems, and some display systems. Now, hard real-time system and soft real-time systems. So hard real-time systems are those systems where the time is very stringent. It means if we don't complete the task within that time specific time interval, then the system might crash. So example of this can be a missile. Suppose we have launched a missile which is traveling at a very high speed. It is a very, very high speed. So if we need to change the direction within 1 millisecond, and the code which we have to implement for this feature to be executed, so it should be executed within 1 millisecond. If it is not, if suppose it takes 10 milliseconds, then obviously the missile might miss the target, because the direction, if not changes, the missile is traveling at so high speed. So if the direction is not changed within a particular time interval, then it might hit the target, and therefore the overall system will fail. So in this system, secondary storage is very limited or absent because of time constraint. Data is stored in short-term memory or read-only memory ROM for faster access. Next type of real-time system is soft real-time system. Here the time constraint is less stringent as compared to hard real-time system. For example, in multimedia, like suppose we are watching pictures where a fixed number of frames should pass in front of the human eye per second, so that he feels that the picture is in motion. So even if those number of frames are not passed, then the picture will be, we will see the picture in slow motion. That is all. But the system is not crashing ultimately. It is less time stringent or less time stringent as compared to the hard real-time system. Other examples for soft real-time system can be games, animation, virtual reality, etc. And limited utility is also there in industrial control or robotics. So thank you.